Far Cry is one of those franchises, guys, that I have enjoyed thoroughly. I've always thought that there were, a number of ways that Ubisoft could kind of progress the series forward, and I think they've done a lot of the things that I've wanted personally. I mean, there was, obviously different landscapes, different environments that we can explore in Far Cry, and then adding even multiplayer and co-op modes, that being like in Far Cry 5. And I think that now we're starting to get to in a pretty good direction, in my personal opinion, with the franchise, because it's starting to feel like a more well-rounded ordeal, or I should say more of a just well-rounded game and full package to this, the first-person shooter genre. And so what I want to go ahead and talk about in this segment of the show, guys, is about Far Cry 6, in particular, why this game should exist. I think it obviously is within development at this point, hasn't been announced as of yet, but I think one of the big reasons, guys, that Far Cry 6 should exist is because this is a series that is starting to grow every single game as time has gone here. Some people, regardless of whether you like Far Cry 5 or you hate Far Cry 5, it has grown the franchise in a tremendous way. Even Far Cry New Dawn, they have kind of progressed the series forward. Sure, New Dawn didn't do as well as the main installments, but I don't think it's meant to. It's meant to be kind of a side story to that of the main Far Cry franchise, kind of like Far Cry Primal. Far Cry 6 would progress the series. I think one thing that needs to happen, in my opinion, is, we see the progression of more characters as well as villains, and seeing those villains at the forefront. We've talked about this on a number of occasions with Far Cry in particular. I think they've done a really good job with their villains, but at the same time, I think that there's even more ways that you can end up ultimately, even making them feel more real to us by putting them on screen a lot more. And so I think that's another way in which, they can kind of progress with Far Cry 6. Far Cry 6 would, not only be, continuing the franchise and move it forward, but it would also continue, hopefully building upon what, the successes of Far Cry 5, and would kind of go into a completely new realm, new environments, and somewhat of a completely new story. And I think it could progress the series forward by building the fan base, building the lore, the story of Far Cry. And it could also continue building upon the co-op modes, multiplayer modes, the full package that could be Far Cry 6. And I think that's something that could be really special, guys, moving forward here. I want to see Ubisoft, not so much take a ton of risks or unnecessary risks. I would love to see new places to go. Maybe different, other time periods, right? Maybe even like slightly futuristic, maybe modern day, a Far Cry game. But I would love to see them kind of put more emphasis on the multiplayer aspects, because first-person shooters, guys, we know, do extremely well when it comes to the multiplayer side of things. And I think that if you were to do that with Far Cry and Far Cry 6, I believe that it could actually be a really big, game as a whole, and there would be a pretty big community around simply the, simply behind playing multiplayer. It brings you back to the game, and it brings you back and playing with your friends and such, and it kind of continues what, after beating the campaign once or twice, you're going to want other ways to connect with the franchise. I think that's one of the most important ways, is through multiplayer aspects, but even co-op as well, having ways you can play with your friends, and I think that would be absolutely awesome as well. Far Cry 6, guys, would continue the story, continue the lore. It could build upon the successes, and even, kind of learn from some of the failures of Far Cry 5 and some of the other previous installments in the franchise. And so I think that it could kind of build upon a number of these things. Now, obviously, Far Cry 6 hasn't been announced as of yet, guys. Pretty much, Ubisoft has stated that they named a number of games that are going to be coming out, so some of their flagship franchises like Watch Dogs, as well as Rainbow Six Quarantine, and then, of course, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And there was still one that they hadn't mentioned, and everyone believes that it's to be Far Cry 6, because it was already, they said, one of their biggest, franchises, and we could say maybe Splinter Cell, but most likely it's not because Splinter Cell is not quite as big as Far Cry. So Far Cry 6, guys, most likely we'll be hearing more information this year. Hopefully it comes out in the next year or two. But it'll be interesting, to say the least, where the environments as such are going to go. But why it should exist, guys, is for all those reasons I just mentioned. It would continue everything that they're building here, the legacy of Far Cry. But let me know, guys, in the comment section below, what do you guys want to see in Far Cry 6? Do you think it should exist, or do you think the series should end with Far Cry New Dawn? Let me know what you guys think, and for more Far Cry 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.